Hello, it's Joyful Hermit. Happy Feast of Pentecost. Solemnity of Pentecost. I'm just now getting up, dressed. We'll head out and do some watering. I also have a beautiful white rose that was the last one at a Lowe's, and I thought, oh, must have for the Holy Spirit to plant on Pentecost. The Holy Spirit's often depicted as a white dove. And when I got it to the register, it was marked down to $5. So I'm going to plant that in honor of the Holy Spirit this day, and of just the universal language. I just thought about this in writing to a friend about Pentecost, that the Holy Spirit came as the rushing of wind, the noise of wind rushing, and also there were the split tongues, or dual tongues of fire. Sometimes it's described as a fire. And I thought it was the language of the Holy Spirit, a language that everyone understands. It wasn't necessarily, this is my thought, my insight, that everyone was actually speaking in different tongues. Well, maybe they were, but it was the understanding that was universal, and that is the language of the Holy Spirit. When the Holy Spirit speaks to us, no matter who we are, or where we are, or what culture or background or education level, we understand. We understand and we hear His voice, even if it's not a audible voice, but the language that He speaks can be in circumstances or occurrences that only the soul recognizes. And it's a universal language. Each soul is able to recognize the language of the Holy Spirit. So I think this is good to remember for all of us. And I also wanted to mention that as I was resting here for several hours this morning, just now getting up in early afternoon, my body, my mind, and my soul needed to be rested. I do have extreme pain all the time, and sometimes it's worse than other times, and heat affects it. I'm sort of in a desert area. No rain. I need to get out and water. But I was thinking and reading about Pentecost, and just how the Virgin Mary was so integral on Pentecost, but she's integral in our lives as well, and ask her to help us be filled to the fullness, to have our souls purified with her aid and her calling upon Christ. Purify our souls so that the Holy Spirit can be very pronounced in our souls without hindrances. And we have so many hindrances of all types. And Mary was always, she never resisted. She never resisted God. And she never, she was always available and did God's will no matter what. And that's something that I'm embarking upon today, to ponder that and to teach myself, by the grace of God, the Holy Spirit will help me to not resist God, even if He doesn't open up things that are avenues that I think, or others think, or maybe even tradition thinks ought to be. Certainly, when Mary was overcome by the Holy Spirit and bore Jesus Christ, that was nothing expected or explicable in that time period, and practically not in ours. Only through the language of the Holy Spirit can we catch a glimpse of how that can be. She even asked, how can this be done unto me? And explained the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit. will do it. Will bring the fullness of life in you. So beautiful thoughts, and His real presence is so great, and very much the Holy Spirit is obviously an integral and very interactive part of the Father and the Son with the Holy Spirit. God bless His real presence in all of you, and God bless His real presence in me. And I decided to continue trying to speak, because it's the more challenging of my skills. And I sort of made a little vow many years ago now, practically 2 decades ago, that when given the paths, any 2 paths or more paths, that I would try, with the grace of God, to choose the path of greater suffering. And at the time, how foolish I was in not realizing what that would entail. And but it has worked out that way. Even when maybe I shrank from choosing, it seems as if the Lord has helped propel me through. And there's a certain challenge of growth, of climbing the stairway to heaven, when we try that will overcome ourselves. And speaking publicly, especially publicly, is an extreme challenge for me. And so I want to learn this. I want to learn how to express in better ways that will glorify God, and share thoughts and insights that I have, whether or not others understand or appreciate them as I do. God bless you all.